Hi, I, Ashley Robert, picked the street artist Slinkachu because I'm interested in the way that he presents his art, and also I enjoy the many art processes that he goes through. So in this image you can see Slinkachu here kneeling on the ground in the middle of a large city and setting up one of his little artworks that he makes. The artist Slinkachu creates street art by placing miniature figures in the middle of a large city. Once he places them the way that he wants, he takes a picture and then leaves the figures behind when he goes about his day again. And they are so small that they often go unnoticed by people that pass by. But I will go into all the details of his artwork later. I just wanted you to get a sense of what kind of art he does before I go into who he is as a person. So here in the two images, you can once see a close-up of the image that he took of the figures that he set up. And then on the right-hand side, you can see it zoomed out and you can't even really see the figures. They're so small. So Slinkachu is actually his nickname. His given name is Stuart Pantel. He wanted to use an artist name because he wanted to be first anonymous. And his nickname is made up of two words together. One's Slink for Slinky because he has curly hair, and then second, Achu because of Pokemon influences like Pikachu. So that's then his name together. Slinky, Achu goes to Slinkachu. So Slinkachu grew up in Devon, England, and he had worked in advertising as a graphic designer. Around 2006, he started to create street art as a hobby. He wanted to place figures all over London and take pictures of them. At first, he created a blog where he shared his pictures with his friends and family. However, that blog that he initially started grew rapidly and he started to get a big following. And now he's really a successful full-time street artist. He travels around the world, does galleries all over the world, sells books and his art. So he's really a successful artist. Ever since Slinkachu was a little child, he actually already enjoyed playing with these figures. His father, when he was young, bought him a train set, and instead of playing with the train, he instead just played with the figures. Um, and he first started using these miniature figures because they were easy and cheap to use. And he uses figures from the same brand that is made in Germany and uses exclusively these figures. He also mentions that he enjoys placing these figures in a large city, and he usually doesn't revisit them because he enjoys the mystery of leaving them behind. The longest that he has known for a figure to survive has been only 5 months. Usually these figures are so small, they are smaller than the size of a thumb, that they often go unnoticed in these public places and accidentally get destroyed, whether that's through city cleanup, street sweepers, people just destroying them on accident by walking on them, or the weather. Um, as you can see here in this image, we can see two little figures on a melting popsicle, and we can see the close-up on the left of the picture that he took, and then on the right you can see it far away, and again, they're so small you can barely really see them, so when you're out in the city you probably won't notice it and could potentially ruin the art. And Slinkashu himself, he prefers to place these figures in a big city instead of nature. His intention when he started was to place these figures all over London with the hope that people would interact with the city more actively. He also enjoys this thought that someone on their way to work unexpectedly notices his art, and he likes the idea that someone can enjoy an uncommissioned art. And since the figures are so small and often go unnoticed, he has creative freedom to create anything he would like. Um, often when he thinks of street art, he thinks that it's big and loud. We think of big, colorful graffiti art or big statues or different big things that are out in the public. However, Slinkachu prefers being more subtle, and instead of throwing art in someone's face, he likes it to be a surprise and to notice it maybe and maybe not. And so here in the image, we can again see a tiny little man standing on a curb of a street, um, calling a taxi cab, and Slinkachu enjoys playing with scale, as you can see here. And so here on the left-hand side, we can see the picture that Slinkachu took, and then on the right-hand side, the zoom out, where we can really barely see the figure, if at all. As mentioned, Slinkachu enjoys playing with scale, um, and he also likes to think about how people feel and respond to their urban environment before he places them. Some people may feel feelings of loneliness or other negative feelings, and he wants to really take these emotions that his viewers have and put them into the figures that he sets up so that people can relate to them. Um, and often Slinkachu leans towards feelings of fear and loneliness and vulnerability. And in addition, something interesting that Slinkachu found that was a bit unexpected is that humans, or us who see these figures, often um, emphasize with these figures or these subjects because we see ourselves in them, and that we also naturally emphasize with them also due to their scale, and that for some reason, since they're so small, that we have a nurturing side that comes out in us. And Slinkachu, his figures, mainly he's focused on everyday humans and less on big political messages or environmental problems or anything like that. He's more focused on everyday scenes from urban life. One example of an art exhibition that he did is that Slinkachu traveled all around the world. Like he went to London, Dubai, Berlin, Moscow, Honolulu, and many other places. And he set up his little figures and took pictures just 2 centimeters off the ground. And something that he found fascinating is that he found you couldn't really tell where he was in the world. All you could really see is that everyone, all these individuals or people all around the world are very similar and have go through the same issues. So here, example, on the left we can see the picture that he took, the close-up, and on the right the zoom out. And here you can't really tell where it is, even with the zoom out. It can be a little hard, but this picture was taken in Honolulu, and in the end the figures are all the same. I personally really enjoy his art and seeing how he interacts with people, the feelings that he brings out, that he really focuses sometimes on feelings of loneliness and sadness and feeling perhaps lost and being so small in such a large city. And I like that he really brings these feelings out, and that he likes to be considered a street artist, that he doesn't really focus on being recognized and throwing art in someone's face, but rather on being very subtle and creating small little moments that can be a surprise to someone. And it's also fascinating the way that he sets up this art, that he has these little figures, these little train figures that he paints or individualizes and then sets up in a certain way, captures a picture, and then edits it in a great way. So I really am fascinated with his art process and the story that he is trying to tell.